Good morning, and welcome to Lopes on Movies. My name is Joey Lopes, and today I am joined by Kyle.
Hey, everyone.
And Conor.
Hey, everyone.
Wow.
Hey, everyone.
Okay,
I'm
this
so
is my
happy
last
to...
episode.
What, you're upset that we stole from you?
You guys stole my catchphrase.
That's not your catchphrase. Your catchphrase...
Go ahead, look back. I say that every single episode.
You know what? I am going to look back, and you're going to be wrong, and it's going to be great. But the real important thing right now, guys, is that things are changing in the world of movies.
Things are changing. Isn't that like the plot of or way they do every trailer from the last bunch of years? Things are changing.
I don't know. Like they had every trailer from the last couple of years is just like random scenes from the movie with some pop song slowed down to 25% speed.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
They all do it. They can't help themselves.
Yeah.
It's epic, guys.
I'm actually surprised that that's still happening, because that's been a joke among us for 5 years. And the fact that it's still happening, it isn't considered embarrassing at this point, is really funny to me.
It was,
because I feel like everybody makes fun of it now.
Didn't Dune do it also?
Oh yeah,
trailer for
yeah,
Dune?
they all
did
do it.
Yeah. It's just it's every single movie.
Fun.
But I mean, if you think about it, maybe it doesn't matter anymore, because who's going to be watching trailers anymore anyway? Because
exactly.
who's going to be going to the movie theaters anymore because
I
of
won't.
what's going on? Yeah, I mean, I guess we should just get right down to it, guys. This is a very, very big. Finally, after months of quiet, we have some very, very big movie news. Very interesting movie news, and I'm really looking forward to talking about this, just because I feel like the ramifications of stuff that are going on in the world of movies right now could be pretty huge.
Yeah.
For things going forward. So let's just get right down to it. So if you've been paying attention to just kind of stuff in the world of movies lately, you might have seen that Warner Bros. Has decided to release their entire 2021 slate, which features many movies that were going to be released in 2020 but weren't because of COVID. This entire slate is now going to open on HBO Max and theaters simultaneously. So they have completely upended the typical release window for theatrical distribution. They're following the example of Trolls World Tour with
like
all
everyone.
films. But this is actually pretty big, because this is every single movie that Warner Brothers is producing, which is a pretty substantial amount of things. So we're talking your mileage may vary on these movies, but nonetheless they are big movies. So the Suicide Squad movie, the next Matrix movie that they were making, the Dune, as Kyle mentioned just a second ago, Wonder Woman, which they announced a while ago they were going to do. But now it's every single one of their 2021 movies. And this news has kind of shocked a lot of people. The way things have been done for the past forever is that there was a release window for theaters, and then after a certain amount of time, things go on home video or then later streaming and so and so. And now with the COVID pandemic and all this stuff happening, and people not really wanting to go to the theater, Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which was sort of Warner Brothers testing the waters movie, was not very successful, just primarily because nobody wanted to go to the movies during a pandemic, which is not too surprising. Of course, we did it, but it's neither here nor there.
We don't care about no pandemic.
Well, we did it because we all knew that. I think I saw it first. Went to a theater in Lewis that was, at least for me, there was 2 other people in there, and I think you guys had an empty theater. So
yes.
First ever empty theater.
It was honestly a great time, just because it was an empty theater, and we had, it was a private screening. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
You don't get that experience very often. I don't know if I prefer it to having a more full attentive audience, but it was nice. I'm not gonna lie. But the point is, Tenet was not successful, and Warner Brothers, I think, was starting to panic a little bit for a variety of reasons. which we'll get into for as we kind of go through this episode. But first, I want to just kind of get your guys' take on this initial news. So this news kind of dropped like December 3rd, I think. So it's like 5 days ago now, and there's been some updates since then that have complicated things further. But
some very juicy updates.
Yeah, some very juicy updates for sure. So what were you guys thinking when this was first announced?
Conor can go first.
All right, sure. Well, I think a lot of people probably don't know the ramifications of something like this, like just on its own. It's just like, or like your average person might just think, oh, okay, that just means I can watch stuff like at home. That this is great. But really, there's a big factor in this, that this changes the industry, like in quite a huge way, like the way that so. The interesting thing is, I think there could be opportunity in this, where these giant movies that have these extreme budgets, like Dune and probably Matrix 4, and I think Godzilla versus King Kong, like these blockbuster things, that might not happen as much anymore. Like, because there's not going to be able to make the money back if the theater experience just goes away. Because I really think my initial thought is, well, we're just kind of like counting the days now for how long until theaters just die, because I don't know. And then I have an actual that I'll get into later. I have a prediction of what's going to happen, but yeah. So I think it's just a matter of time until the large theater chains, at least the big ones, like the Cineplexes, just become a thing of the past. That's my initial thought.
Yeah, I don't know if it's it seems like a bad sign for things to come, at least for theaters, because, I mean, it's all been said before, but if you give people a chance to just sit on their couch and watch movies, 9 out of 10 people today will just do that. Like, I mean, even if, like, and I mean, the part of the problem is that not everyone has HBO Go also. Or wait, HBO Max.
HBO Max,
whatever the new thing is.
Although your confusion is a big part of this story, which I'll get to in a bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can't wait to see that. But like not that I really want to see any of these movies besides maybe Dune, but I can't even watch them because Roku doesn't have HBO Max.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So like, let's say Dune came out tomorrow and I didn't want to go to the theater. I can't watch it. So it's a weird thing where they're kind of closing off the audience at the same time as trying to expand it. And I don't know. We'll talk about some of the other stuff that's coming up later, but I just don't see this going well for anyone involved, including the theaters.
It's kind of it seems like something that should be a win-win for consumers because they have more options, but I think at the end of the day, it's not necessarily going to work out that way in the way people expect. So one of the interesting an interesting article that came out like after this by Peter Labuza, who is he specializes in basically like laws surrounding kind of the film industry.
So he's a smart guy, he
knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. And basically his dissection of this is that it really this problem has more to do with HBO Max than it does with the movies and the theaters. Because, so Kyle, you mentioned, like, you called it HBO Go. You were like, HBO Max, I don't know. So HBO Max is a pretty decent streaming service if you use it. They have some good stuff. They have a good library of old things and new things.
Yeah, I was just going to say cellular.
It was great. But the problem is that HBO Max, not a lot of people are signed up for it. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think part of it is just it was very confusing what it was, and nobody really understands it because they did a terrible job explaining that HBO Max is like a new streaming service. It's not just HBO Go. It's like a completely like unique thing that Warner Media is offering. So it's not doing very well, and with these movies, not doing anything for some extended period of time, the basic idea was probably that these investors are like, we need to get more people to sign up for HBO Max. And one way to potentially do that is to put these blockbuster films on the platform and bet that people will keep their subscription if they know that a new blockbuster is coming in another month, right? So it's not just like Wonder Woman 1984. This was announced a while ago. This was going to be put on HBO Max, right?
Mm-hmm.
People could easily buy HBO Max and cancel it immediately after they watch the movie, right? So the idea is that now that we're putting all of these movies on here, maybe this will help drive subscriptions because people will think, okay, well, I'll keep it another month because I know Dune's coming out next month, or I know, whatever. That's the idea. Whether or not that's actually a good idea, it remains to be seen. But it's clear that they're just kind of fishing for things at this point to try to make HBO Max successful. And what they ended up doing was actually pretty crazy because one thing that came out from this is that they didn't really do a good job telling their talent that they were going to do this.
It sounds like they actually did a really bad job of it.
Yeah, so this was a really funny thing. So apparently they didn't tell any of the talent agencies that this was going to happen until like 90 minutes before they made the made the announcement. So now like everybody is extremely angry with them because this is such a big change. And one person in particular who's really angry is, of course, filmmaker Christopher Nolan.
Oh, of course he is.
Yeah, so Christopher Nolan was it was obviously he was very big on having Tenet getting a theater release even during the pandemic. For Christopher Nolan, the theater experience is the experience, right? And he thinks that that's something that needs to be preserved and is really important. He's been working with Warner Brothers since 2002, I think I read. Like it's been the studio that he has made movies for almost 20 years at this point. And just to quote him, some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. It's honestly a great line.
It's just it's so good because it's so true too, because everyone says in the industry also that Warner Brothers is film, like they're the ones that make like the big, I mean, maybe not as much anymore, but like historically too, like that's like the number one, like I guess they treat the talent the best and everything like that is what they say at least, or something like that. And then HBO Max is such a mess. Like, and the sad thing is too, it's really not that bad because we've talked about it. We talked about it like the first week, like when it was out, we tried to explain like what it is compared to everything else, but it's just, I mean, I guess, you see, it's hard to explain it to people.
Yeah, for sure. So Christopher Nolan coming out with this has been kind of interesting. Is I've seen a variety of different responses to his kind of take on this, and I don't know if this is like a universal thing, but I feel like Christopher Nolan has kind of gotten into like I don't know if it's hot water, but like the public has been kind of like iffy on him the past few months. I think mainly because of the Tenet thing, where people are like, oh, you're it's your hubris. You want your movie to open in a theater during a pandemic when we nobody can go to a theater, right? And now he's coming out saying that this is such a big issue and a big problem, and coming out against the studio that he's worked with for so long. Clearly, he's very passionate about this. But there's a lot of people that are saying like, again, like, oh, Christopher Nolan coming out against something that's going to help people, keep people safe during a pandemic, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh,
and
gosh.
and I'm like, let's take a step back here and recognize that it's not as simple as that.
I don't think it's that at all.
Yeah.
HBO. Yeah, you think that Warner Brothers is doing this because they really care about the people. They want to keep them at home. No.
Yeah, out of the kindness of their hearts. Yeah,
this is like a panic move where they have to come up with like something, and like this is the best thing that they did.
Yeah, no, it's 100% a panic move. It's exactly what it is. And it's just kind of like a weird thing that people are rushing to the defense of like, Warner Brothers Studios, a giant mega company.
Gotta love mega company defenses.
As opposed to and like saying Christopher Nolan is the problem when he's just a guy, a guy voicing his opinion, an artist that makes interesting work. And I don't know, that's just something that always makes me laugh when I see it. But
it's one of those weird things too. This is a weird comparison, but it's kind of like earlier on in the year. And Kyle, you might get this more, where we're talking about like when baseball was trying to get back started, and it was a whole thing where they're blaming a lot of people got to the point of blaming the players for not getting things started, and they were for the owners instead. Where it's kind of like the same thing, where the artists are now you're going after Nolan rather than like the ones that are pulling the strings, like can really make something happen anyway.
There are very few times where the billionaires are the guys like that need help. Like you know,
in giant companies.
Exactly. It's like and like it's not like Christopher Nolan, some like poor guy or something like that, but very clearly someone here is thinking with a much more like, maybe not malicious, but someone's caring more about money than like the art form.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, like Christopher Nolan is really passionate about the presentation of film in a particular way.
And I'm sure there's like tons of directors that probably feel very similarly.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this entire response or this entire thing from Warner Brothers has like completely upended the film industry. Like people are really, really mad at them for this, for a variety of reasons. But like chief among them that they just kind of decided it and didn't let anybody know that it was going to happen. Didn't consult anybody. Didn't like they basically just did it. And now everybody is kind of like scrambling to like figure out what that means and what the implications of it are. And I'm sure the theater chains themselves aren't very happy about it either.
No.
Now we think
well,
about
they're cut out of they're cut out now.
Yeah, like they and you know the relationship between movie theaters and movie studios is now just probably completely eroded. And so I can't even imagine what that's like. But then again, maybe this is something that the studios want because I think we talked about this a little while ago, where the Paramount decree was overturned. If you don't know what that was, it was to really oversimplify it. Basically, in 1948, a law was passed basically forbidding studios from owning movie theaters, because when studios were able to own their own movie theaters, it led to very like anti-competitive practices for the film industry, where they would basically put their own movies in a theater and nothing else could get in there, right? So that whole thing is basically what allowed movie theaters to contain basically all kinds of movies from all different places, all different studios, et cetera, and making sure that movie theaters are independently owned from other companies or whatever. So now theoretically, movie studios can own movie theaters again, and maybe they want the movie theaters to go under so that they can do that. We can just start having Disney houses.
Yeah, so I guess we can get into my prediction now. I think that Disney's going to buy up like as many of these theaters as soon as, and they're going to get them at a song. I think in just a matter of time, once like the theater, like they're going to try this for as long as they can, I guess, like by really doing the simultaneous thing. And I'm sure it's not going to go well for the theaters. And probably a lot of people aren't going to come back, at least the first half of 2021. And they're gonna go under. And Disney or these other studios maybe, but I really think Disney primarily are going to scoop them up, and they're going to get them at like such a low price. They're going to get them for nothing. Like I really think it's going to come to that. It's going to be like government auction style. Like it
Gross.
Like I really think it's going to get to that point.
That's like worst case scenario,
Yeah.
that all the theaters become Disney houses. And the funny thing is that theaters kind of already are Disney houses, because Disney already basically like flexes their muscles to make sure that their movies get the vast majority of screens on your average multiplex theater across the country. I distinctly remember that one story from forever ago where I don't know if it was a Marvel movie or whatever, but Quentin Tarantino was basically told like, yeah, we can't play the Hateful Eight in our theater.
No, I remember what it was. It was Star Wars. It was
Star Wars.
Yeah, it was that first Star Wars that they made, the
Force Awakens.
The Force. I can't even remember what it's called. Those movies are just like those movies are like Game of Thrones now. They're just so like, even people who liked them at the beginning, because it ended so badly, it's just gone.
Yeah,
like,
just
don't...
evaporated from culture.
But yeah, that fight that was a fight from forever ago. But
Yeah.
that was definitely a precursor to
No,
what's
it
happening
was.
now.
Absolutely, yeah. But so in a way, like we've already kind of seen Disney trying to do that. So this would just be the next step where now it's like they can just own the movie theaters and the only movies you go to see are, Marvel, Star Wars,
Yay.
whatever crap they're putting out. So we've talked a little bit about this news, and we're just a couple of schmucks from Delaware. We don't know anything about the movie
Hey.
business, like we're just like kind of speculating because it's fun. But let's talk about something that I think we maybe have slightly more informed opinions on.
Ooh.
I can't wait to hear what this is.
Is this more Conor trivia?
Well, so the implications of all of this has to do with the movie theater going experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the big takeaway I've gotten from just kind of like random public perception that I've seen anecdotally is that people are more than happy to not go to the movie theater. There's sort of like it varies from people that are just like, I don't really need to go to the movie theaters at all. I don't really like them that much. Pandemic, whatever. I'm never going to go again. To people that are like, well, I want to see like the big movies, like, like the big special effects movies in theaters, but like any like, independent movie or something that it doesn't have a big budget, I'd rather watch that at home. Right. So that's like the prevailing thing. And my question for you guys is like, do you think the theater experience as it is right now is valuable and worth preserving?
Kyle, you go ahead and take this one first this time.
Oh, okay. I mean, personally, I love going to theaters and seeing movies. I mean, as there's something incredibly enjoyable about seeing even awful movies in like a nice, comfy seat, big screen, got my popcorn, got my drink. There's just you don't get that at home. Even in like home theaters, there's still just like a level of I guess just enjoyment that you get from a movie theater that you can't get anywhere else. So I would be really bummed if they just completely went away.
No, yeah, I completely agree. And I think like the real crux of this is like the theater going experience for me over the past, years has been really like it's varied a lot in quality, I'd say.
That's true.
But regardless of any of that, I still think seeing a movie with an audience is a more interesting experience than seeing a movie entirely by yourself. And that goes for every movie. Like I don't think that there's any like division between the lower budget things and the big budget things when it comes to seeing a movie in a theater. I really don't. I think that the theater experience on its own is a unique and valuable experience that you can't get from watching movies at home. And I love watching movies at home. Most of the movies I watch from home. I watch a ton of old movies, and the easiest and best way to do that when you're living in Delaware is to watch them from home, watch them on a Blu-ray, watch them stream them, whatever. And that's just what you're going to have to do, right? But regardless, like it's like the difference between like watching Twin Peaks: The Return at home versus watching it at the Museum of Modern Art, which me and Conor did in January like a couple years ago. And it's like the difference is night and day. Like when you're with a gigantic audience all there, like there for this giant thing, this like piece of art to experience.
A good audience.
It's just like there's nothing like it. Like it's just a magical experience. And there's even like something to be said for the bad experiences that you have, because at least it's like you're with other people, like you're doing something. Like you're not just like in your house, like in your sweatpants, just like sitting there passively enjoying something. Like you're going out, you're experiencing the world. You know what I mean? Like I would just be really sad if like we get to a point where like just going further and further down this road of just people staying in their houses all the time and never want to do anything out.
Watching The Irishman at 1.5 speed. Like it's a sick future.
It's not right. It's just not right. I don't know. Conor, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying here, but people are not the same. Audience goers are not what they were, like the people who are going to the theater don't have the attention span to like to focus on something. And part of that is like, just the way things are now with the technology and the phones. And I think most people would be terrified to see how often they're on their phone. I think you can see like a phone usage thing, like how often you're on like Instagram or your social media apps, like where you're on it like half the day somehow. Like, and they're doing that while they're watching movies. Like people watch a movie from home, but they don't even watch it really. Like they'll watch these things. They don't. It's not even being watched. They see like a couple scenes here and there when their eyes flash up from their phone, but they don't see the movie. So I see why people don't want to go, and that's why the theater experience is like questionable. Honestly,
it's the gradual erosion of film, cinema, art into content. Something that you just like you put on and then you turn off your brain, you kind of half watch it,
Content is a very, very interesting word. It's almost like it's like negative.
Oh, it's
so negative.
It takes things and just puts them into an easily categorical box for data and for these companies to like, sell things. It's a whole thing. It's beyond the scope of this episode of the show, which we unfortunately
a
must
whole
begin
thing on content. Can I just try to bring it up in like a positive thing?
Sure.
Like, because I have like one positive thing that could come from this, and that's
Make it
maybe
quick.
that it's gonna be very quick. That because like the theaters, because if you don't have the theater experience the same way, and you can't like studios can't bring back the box office revenue from these movies that they're making with these giant insane budgets, then maybe we're going to get more of a distribution, and we're going to get smaller movies that have like lesser budgets but more interesting things.
Well, it's the thing that everybody's talking about, like the mid-budget movie what has disappeared in recent years, and the mid-budget movie being, if you have your low budget movies and you have your gigantic budget movies, the mid-budget's right in the middle, sits right in the right between. And typically, like, the best work has come from mid-budget films. The work from the most exciting filmmakers has come from there. But because of the blockbusters that we've been getting in the past years, all the studios are putting all their eggs in, like, their blockbuster franchise basket, and there's no money left over for anything else. I think that does make some sense, and that definitely is the dream, that maybe we'll get to a point where the studios have to start putting out more work and not just relying on the biggest possible, we need to make $1 bazillion. But I don't know. I think it remains to be seen what the future of all this is going to be.
Because otherwise, what is it going to be? They're just going to have like bait on a hook, and we're all the fish that are in the ocean, and the bait is on the hook, and the bait is Spider-Man 3. Or whatever they're calling the new Spider-Man, and like they're just gonna keep people hanging around so that don't worry, this one's coming out on our streaming service. You just gotta keep your subscription. Just gotta hold on to it. This is it. This giant thing is gonna be here. Like that. Is that what they're gonna do, or are they going to try to make more things? That'll be. That's
no. It is a good question.
Those are the only options.
Yeah,
right?
It definitely is a good question, but I don't know. It remains to be seen. But it's interesting time for movies. I think there's a lot of change coming, and I'm definitely excited to see what how it all shakes out.